And I just turned 60. And it was such a monumental moment for me when I turned 60 years old, because I started thinking about that decade. Like, what does that decade mean? What does it hold? What's it going to have for me? And I realized that it was time for me to turn the page at 60 and to try something new.
Hey there, it's Suzanne Oshima, life coach for women in midlife and your fellow sister on a mission to empower and inspire you through the twists and turns of midlife. I'm here to help you transform it into your best life with the Life Is Now, Do It While You Can podcast. We only get one life, so let's make it count, and I'm super excited to dive in to this new journey together. Hey there, welcome to today's episode of the Life Is Now, Do It While You Can podcast. I'm so excited to be here because today we're talking about another life lesson. Only today, it's not my life lesson, it's somebody else, and it's somebody else I barely know. I've actually only met her once in person, and I'll tell you about that in a second. And that person is Hoda Kotb on the Today Show. And if you don't watch the Today Show, don't worry about it, because I'm going to tell you her story and why I wanted to focus on this today and why it's so profound in your life. So for those of you that don't know, I love the Today Show. It's my favorite morning show. I watch it every single morning unless I'm on vacation, or if I have a meeting going on. I don't obviously watch it then, but I do watch it pretty religiously, and I've watched it pretty religiously for the last about 30 years. Anyways, and for years when I had my online dating site, we used to send press kits to the Today Show to try and get me on the Today Show, and I would never get a call back to be on the Today Show. And then fast forward to when I transitioned my online dating site to an offline matchmaking site, and I became a matchmaker for both men and women. All of a sudden, I got this call from the Today Show, and it was out of the blue. It was not because of the press kits, because those press kits had been sent to them like 10 years before. And anyways, I get this call, and the producer says to me, it was actually about the movie Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man. Or was it called, no, I'm mixed up. It was that Steve Harvey movie, Think Like a Man, Act Like a Lady. No, it was Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man. I feel like I'm dyslexic. Anyways, it was about that movie. That movie was coming out, and they wanted to have both a man and a woman come on that were quote unquote experts and talk about the differences in dating from a male perspective versus a female perspective. And she was upfront and honest with me, because that's how New Yorkers are. And she said, listen, I'm calling you. We're looking for a woman to be on the Today Show. And because you're a matchmaker, we would love to have you on. But here was the big but. The big but was she said, my producer really wants to have a psychologist on. And she said, but if we can't get a psychologist, then you're our second choice. And this is for the next day. This is how TV works. So they do, like, you get calls and you got to be ready to go. And so in that moment, I was like, oh, I have been trying to get on the Today Show for so long. I was like, there is no way they are going to pick the psychologist. I'm going to make this so that they want to pick me. And she kind of gave me the gist of some of the things they were thinking about in the segment. And so what I did was I did all my homework. I did some research on the movie. Remember, the movie wasn't out. So I did some research on his book, and I had sent them a synopsis of things and angles that I thought they could do in the segment. And I sent it off to her. She gives me a call back, and she goes, you're in. We're going to forego the psychologist, and we want you on the show. And when I tell you, I was so excited because, like I said, I love the Today Show, and I had been trying to get on that show for years. And so that was my moment. And I go into the Today Show studios, and I had no idea who was going to be leading the segment, what on-air talent was going to be leading the segment. And it so turned out, and this is before Hoda was the main co-anchor of the Today Show. She was just one of the people that did segments, and she would fill in, and she was filling in, and her and actually Willie Geist were going to lead the segment. And so they interviewed both myself and this guy. His name was Chuck Nice. He's a comedian. He was hilarious. I loved him. And we were on the segment talking about Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man, the movie. And they gave us several different scenarios in the movie that were really funny. And they wanted to get the male perspective and the female perspective. And especially because at the time I was a matchmaker, they wanted to hear what my thoughts were. And it was great. It was so much fun. And the producer said, "You guys did such an awesome job. We actually extended the segment. They let us run. I think it was for like 6 or 7 minutes, which I know that right now you're going 6 or 7 minutes. That's nothing. In TV time, that's a long time. So, because it could have been like a 3-minute segment. Anyways, I met Hoda, I met Willie Geist, and Hoda was lovely. She's such a down-to-earth person. Okay, so fast forward, as you may or may not know, she's been the main co-anchor of the Today Show with Savannah Guthrie ever since Matt Lauer was fired, right? And so she got to step up into this role, and you don't have to be in TV to know that once you make it as the co-anchor, main anchor of the Today Show or any morning show, whether it's CBS or ABC Good Morning America, that's the top of the game at that morning show, right? From 7 to 9 a.m., you're at the top, right? So she's been a co-anchor on the Today Show since Matt Lauer was fired. I don't even know how many years ago that was. I can't remember. I think it was like, I'm totally guessing. I feel like it was like 2017 or 2018 that all happened. So she's been in this role, top of her game. And you would think that, she's going to be in this position until she either retires or whatever, right? Well, it was announced last week on the Today Show that she has decided to leave the Today Show. I was completely shocked. When I heard the news, I was completely shocked because she's literally my age. She had just turned 60 over the summer, and I'm turning 60 in January. And so we're the same age. And I'm like, oh my God, she's leaving the Today Show. I can't believe she's leaving the Today Show. She's at the top of her game. She's still young. She's got a lot of years left at the Today Show. I cannot believe she's leaving like the dream job that everybody probably wants as TV hosts is you want that main morning slot, right? So I want to play for you right now her goodbye and when she announced it on the Today Show. And the reason why is because she said so many things in there in her goodbye that are so profound, and we can learn a lot from what she shared. So take a listen, and I'll catch you on the other side.
I do. I have some news. So I was doing the math, and I realized that I have spent 26 years at NBC. Okay, just cool. Be cool. Be cool. 26 years at NBC, 16 years on the 10, and 7 years with you. And I just turned 60. And it was such a monumental moment for me when I turned 60 years old, because I started thinking about that decade. Like, what does that decade mean? What does it hold? What's it going to have for me? And I realized that it was time for me to turn the page at 60 and to try something new. And I think I realized it. This was so crazy, but remember our 60th birthday that we had outside? It was so, I can see it. And I remembered standing outside looking at this beautiful bunch of people with all these gorgeous signs. And I thought, like, this is what the top of the wave feels like for me. And I thought it can't get better. And I decided that this is the right time for me to kind of move on. And then I thought about, obviously I had my kiddos late in life, and I was thinking that they deserve a bigger piece of my time pie that I have. I feel like we only have a finite amount of time. And so with all that being said, this is the hardest thing in the world.
I have to tell you, when the first time I was watching it on TV, I'm not going to lie, I cried because I told you I'm a huge fan of the Today Show. And actually, Hoda Kotb is actually my favorite anchor on the Today Show because she's just real. She's down to earth. She's real. And she's an amazing person. And she's very, very relatable. Like, I can't relate to some of the other anchors on the show, but Hoda Kotb, I feel like her and I are like, I could be her sister or friend, right? So anyways, here's why I wanted to play her goodbye on the segment. Because number one, I wanted you to hear the emotion in her voice, but what's going on for her and why she's actually leaving. And, you know, it's so important because I thought about it and I was thinking, oh my God, everything is perfect in her life. And she, as she said, she's at the top of the wave. And most people, when they're at the top of the wave, they just keep riding that wave. But she had a life-changing moment, a moment where she took a look at her life, and that was her 60th birthday, right? And she reflected on everything she's done in her life, but then she also looked forward into the future, and she asked herself, what do I want my 60s to look like? And of course, you know, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, yeah, what do I want my 60s to look like, right? And she said she wanted to turn the page and try something new. And because I'm a life coach for women in midlife, how much did I love that she said that? That she's ready to turn the page at the top of her game, mind you, and try something new. And she was talking about, I don't know if it was in that actual segment, but in another part of the Today Show, she had talked about, I think it was in the third hour with Hoda and Jenna. She talked about, she said, you know, she had something big that she wants to do, but she, you know, she said deep down inside, she had a knowing or longing for something that she's been like kicking around in her head. And I bet you all can relate to that. There's something that you're thinking about in your head, but what kept happening for her is she kept pushing it down. And she told herself, not now, not yet. And then she would say, you know, maybe next year. And then next year would come, and then she would say again, maybe the next year. And so she kept putting it off. So she kept putting, and I don't know what this dream is of her because she didn't say what it was, but she kept putting her dream off. And she kept, like how I always say, is we as women in midlife, we tend to, for years, sometimes even decades, put our dreams on the back burner. And for her, she kept doing that, but something was like gnawing away at her. And then she realized when she had her 60th birthday that it's time. She's leaving because she realized that it's time, that this is her time to begin her next chapter. And she's doing what's best for her. And she's having the strength to know that it's the right time. Does she know for 100% certainty that it's the right time? No. But like she said, she's been dreaming about something bigger for herself. And I'm thinking when she says this is, oh my gosh, how much bigger can you get than the co-anchor of the Today Show, right? During the prime hour. But obviously there's something bigger for her. There's something bigger in store for her. And she's turning 60. And this is her literally stepping out onto the edge of the cliff and is ready to jump. And I can tell for her, as a life coach, as she's saying this, as I'm watching her on TV, that it's scary for her. And rightfully so. It would be, if any of us were in her position, we'd be scared too to leave at the top of our game. But she's doing it anyway. She's stepping into the scary. She's stepping into her fears, but she's doing it anyways. And does she know for 100% certainty how it's going to turn out? No. But she's trusting her intuition. She's trusting her intuition that not only is this the right time, but this is the right time to follow her dream and take that dream off the back burner. And she's trusting because she's not married, she's single. She's trusting that everything will be okay. And what I realized as she's sharing all these amazing things that she's been thinking about and where she's at in life is, I realized that Hoda is in a growth mindset in her life. She's in a season of growing. Think about spring. She's in a season of growing in her 60s. So if you've ever said to yourself, it's too late for me, it's never too late. And I don't care if in your 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever it is, it's never too late. Because she's having the courage to take the leap at the top of her game. And here's the interesting thing, because as I was reflecting on this whole situation and what Hoda's doing, is I thought about most people in their 60s are in a comfortable place in their career, hopefully. For the most part, I should say, right? And most people, I'm not going to say everyone, because obviously it's not everyone, but most people are looking at retirement right around the corner. And Hoda's not. She's stepping from one of the most comfortable jobs and comfort levels and knowing where she's at in life in her career. And she's stepping from that into the unknown and into the uncomfortableness. I don't care how strong and independent Hoda is, it's uncomfortable for her. And you could see it in her eyes and in her voice when she's talking about this. But she knows it's the right thing. She's trusting her intuition. And I found that so interesting because as I was reflecting on what she's doing and what most people do in their lives is some people, I shouldn't say most people. I'm going to backtrack that. It's not most people. It's some people. Some people wait until something has reached its expiration date, where now it's just it's done, right? Where it's time to leave. Or worse is they're forced out, right? And so it can be scary when everything's fine, everything's great. But she's controlling the narrative in her life. She's controlling her story. She's controlling what it's going to look like in the future. And I love that. And while most people, or I'm going to say some people again, not most people, some people might think it's the wrong time to do this. Or if you even think, well, if I was in her position, I would think this is the wrong time to do this. But it's actually the right time for her. And that's because she said on the third hour of the Hoda and Jenna show, she shared that, as she was reflecting on her life, the past and going forward, she reflected on the fact that we only have a finite amount of time in our lives. We all know that, but a lot of us don't face it. We don't face it head on and really say to ourselves, you know what? I only have a finite time here on earth, and I want to do everything that I want to do in my life because I don't want to leave this earth with regrets. By the way, side note, that is actually from hospice care nurse. I read this interview from a hospice care nurse, and she said that's the number one thing that people regret is the things they didn't do in life. I found that interesting because I've always said I want to live my life without regrets. And I always want to be able to say I tried it and it worked, or worst case scenario, it didn't work. No big deal. At least I know I tried. So the last thing that I will say about Hoda is, she said saying goodbye, it's easy when something's not working, but it's hard when it's amazing. And so this was a very difficult decision for her, but she's doing it anyway. And so I invite you, based on Hoda's story, even if you don't watch the Today Show, I think you can relate. I hope you can relate. I invite you to reflect on your own life. Because her courage, bravery, and strength to step into this and leave the Today Show should be inspiring to all of us. Because we should all have the courage to step up to that edge of the cliff and jump. Because life is now. We need to do it while we can, which is why I named the podcast Life is Now, Do It While You Can. So I invite you to ask yourself, what do you want the next decade of your life to look like? Do the same thing that Hoda did. It doesn't matter if you're 60. It doesn't matter if you're 55. Just what do you want the next decade of your life, wherever you're at, whatever age you are, the next 10 years, what do you want that to look like? And for some of that could be scary. But what's scarier is having regrets in your life. Number 2. What in your life are you afraid to say goodbye to, but you know you need to? What have you been putting off? It doesn't have to be a job. It could be anything. Something that has passed its expiration date that you've been holding on to, and you know deep down inside, it's time to let it go. Let it go and say goodbye. I invite you to really think about that. And I invite you to think about having the same courage that Hoda had in saying goodbye. Number 3, is there something in your life that you've been thinking about doing, but you keep saying to yourself, like Hoda did, oh, it's not the right time. Or maybe next year. And then next year comes and you say that again. Maybe next year. You've been putting it off for too long and you've had whatever it is on the back burner for far too long. Well, guess what? It's time. Because there will always be something. There will always be something to say it's not the right time. It is the right time. There will never be the quote-unquote right time. It's time because our time is limited. And number 4, it's scary. I know it is. And you're afraid, but do it anyway. Because here's the thing, is you only get one life. It's now or never. So it's go time. And just remember, I'm back here cheering you on because you've got this. And deep down inside, you know you've got this. Hey there, if you're ready to transform midlife into your best life, but feel like you don't have enough free time to do more of what you love, head over to SuzanneOshima.com and grab my free ebook, 5 Ways to Buy More Time in Your Life. I'll share with you how to find the time you never thought you had so you can start taking all those dreams and plans off the back burner to start living your best life now. Plus, by signing up, you'll be the first to know about new episodes and get access to exclusive content that will empower and inspire you on your midlife journey today and in the future.